The door creaked open and my heart stopped. Claire, my impossibly straight neighbor, stood there, her silhouette framed by the fading Seattle dusk. I was alone, sprawled on my couch with a half-empty wine glass, the kind of night where loneliness feels like a guest who overstays. Then she stepped inside, uninvited, her eyes locking onto mine with a question I wasn't ready to answer. My name is Emma, and I've lived in this quiet Seattle suburb for 3 years, tucked away in a small house with too many books and not enough company. At 28, I've learned to guard my heart, especially after coming out as a lesbian in a town where acceptance is polite but shallow. Claire, 30, moved in next door 6 months ago, a confident, charming woman with a smile that could melt glaciers and a life that screamed straight in every way. The boyfriend who visited on weekends, the floral dresses, the church picnics. We'd exchanged pleasantries, shared a laugh over her dog escaping into my yard, but nothing more. Until tonight. I sat up, wine sloshing slightly. Claire? Everything okay? My voice sounded steadier than I felt. She closed the door behind her, her leather jacket catching the dim light of my living room. I saw your light on, she said, her voice soft but deliberate. I needed to talk. There was a tremor in her tone, something raw that made my pulse quicken. She sat on the edge of my armchair, her hands fidgeting. It's about Mark, she began, referring to her boyfriend. We broke up. My eyebrows shot up, but I stayed silent, letting her fill the space. It's not just him. It's everything. I feel like I've been living someone else's life. Her blue eyes met mine and I swear the room shrank. I'd spent months convincing myself my crush on her was a harmless fantasy. But now with her so close, it felt like a spark waiting for oxygen. I offered her wine, mostly to break the tension. She accepted, her fingers brushing mine as she took the glass. Emma, she said, leaning forward, do you ever feel like you're hiding who you are? The question hit like a freight train. I'd hidden for years through high school crushes, family dinners where I dodged questions about boyfriends, and now in this town where I was the nice lesbian neighbor but never truly seen. I nodded, my throat tight. All the time. Claire's story spilled out. A life of expectations, from her conservative upbringing to her engagement to Mark, who checked every box but never made her heart race. I thought it was enough, she whispered. But I see you, Emma, so free. And it terrifies me. My breath caught. Was she saying what I thought? I wanted to reach out to bridge the gap between us, but fear held me back. What if I'd misread her? The night stretched on, our conversation weaving through laughter and confessions. She admitted she'd always been curious about women, but buried it under layers of shoulds. I told her about my first love, a girl in college who broke my heart but taught me to be brave. By midnight, we were sitting on the floor, empty wine bottle between us, our knees touching. I don't know what I'm doing, Claire said, her voice barely audible. But I know I want to be here. With you. I froze. This was the moment, dangerous, electric, and fragile. Claire, I said, my voice shaking, you don't have to decide anything tonight. But if you stay, I need to know you mean it. Her hand found mine, warm and steady. I mean it, she said. And then she leaned in, her lips brushing mine, tentative but sure. The world tilted, and for the first time in years I felt alive. But as her kiss deepened, a wave of doubt crashed over me. Claire was straighter, so she'd thought. What if this was just a moment of rebellion? A fleeting escape from her breakup? I pulled back, my heart pounding. We need to slow down, I said, though every part of me screamed to keep going. Her eyes searched mine, confused but not angry. Okay, she whispered. But I'm not running away. We talked until dawn, the space between us charged with possibility. She left as the first light crept through my windows, promising to come back. As the door closed, I leaned against it, my mind racing. Claire wasn't just my neighbor anymore, she was a question mark, a risk, and maybe, just maybe, a chance at something real. But in a town like ours, where whispers travel faster than truth, I knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke to the memory of Claire's kiss, a ghost lingering on my lips. I stood in my kitchen, coffee brewing, staring at her house across the street. Had last night been real, or was it a wine-fueled dream? The uncertainty gnawed at me, but when my phone buzzed with a text from her, "Can we talk later?" I'm still processing, my heart leapt. She hadn't disappeared. I spent the day distracted, shelving books at the local library where I worked. My mind replayed every moment. Her hand in mine, the way her voice cracked when she spoke of hiding herself. By evening I was a mess of hope and fear. What did processing mean? Was she regretting it? When she knocked on my door at 7 p.m. my stomach flipped. She wore a simple sweater, her blonde hair tucked behind her ears, but her eyes carried a storm. "Emma, I'm scared," she admitted, stepping inside. "Last night. It felt right, but it's like I'm betraying everything I've ever known." I guided her to the couch, my heart aching for her. "You don't have to have it all figured out," I said. "But you need to be honest with yourself and with me." She nodded, her fingers twisting together. "I've never felt this way about a woman before. It's like I'm waking up, but I don't know who I'll be when it's over." We talked for hours, peeling back layers. She told me about her childhood in rural Idaho, where different was a dirty word. I shared my own struggles coming out to my parents, who still called my lifestyle a phase. Our stories mirrored each other, two women shaped by expectations, now standing at a crossroads. When she reached for my hand, I let her, but I kept my guard up. "I want to explore this," she said, her voice steady now. "But I need time." I agreed, though every part of me wanted to pull her close. We set boundaries. No more kisses until she was sure, just time to know each other. Over the next week, we fell into a rhythm: coffee in the mornings, walks with her dog, late-night talks about everything from books to dreams. She was funny, sharp, and achingly vulnerable, and I was falling harder than I'd planned. But the town wasn't blind. Neighbors noticed her car parked outside my house, their glances turning sharp. At the library, Mrs. Thompson, the town gossip, asked pointedly if I had a new friend. I brushed it off, but the weight of their judgment settled in. One evening, Claire invited me to her place for dinner. Her house was warm, cluttered with plants and photos of her old life. As we chopped vegetables, our shoulders brushing, she laughed, a sound that felt like sunlight. "I've never cooked for anyone like this," she said. "Mark always wanted takeout." I teased her about her knife skills, and for a moment it was just us, no expectations, no fear. But then her phone rang. It was Mark begging to talk. Her face clouded, and she stepped outside to take the call. I waited, heart pounding, as minutes stretched into an eternity. When she returned, her eyes were red. "He wants me back," she said. "He thinks I'm just confused." Anger flared in minute at her, but at the world that made her doubt herself. "What do you think?" I asked, my voice tight. She looked at me, her gaze fierce. "I think I'm done pretending." She crossed the room and kissed me, not tentative this time but certain. It was a promise, and I let myself believe it. But as we stood there, wrapped in each other, I heard a car slow outside. Mrs. Thompson's voice carried through the open window, chatting with another neighbor. "They're awfully close, aren't they?" she said. Claire stiffened, pulling back. "They're watching us," she whispered. I wanted to tell her it didn't matter, but I knew it did. In this town, love like ours wasn't just a choice, it was a battle. The whispers grew louder over the next few weeks, a low hum that followed us like a shadow. Claire and I were careful: no public displays of affection, no lingering glances in town, but secrets don't stay buried in a place like this. At the library, I caught coworkers exchanging looks when Claire dropped off a coffee for me. "Just being neighborly," I said, but their smiles were thin. Claire felt it too. She'd tense when neighbors passed her on the street, their hellos laced with curiosity. Still, we carved out moments of joy. Late at night, we'd sit on my porch, sharing stories under the stars. She told me about her dream to open a bakery, her hands animated as she described recipes. I confessed my secret wish to write a novel, one that told stories like ours. Each moment drew us closer, but the fear of exposure loomed. Claire was still untangling her identity, and I didn't want to push her into a spotlight she wasn't ready for. Then came the church picnic. Claire had always gone, part of her old life, and she asked me to join her. "I want them to see us together," she said, her voice firm. "Not hiding." My stomach twisted, but I agreed. We arrived separately, but when she found me by the dessert table, her hand brushed mine, deliberate and bold. Heads turned. Mrs. Thompson's eyes narrowed, and I heard the word sin muttered nearby. Claire's face paled, but she didn't pull away. "Let them talk," she whispered. I squeezed her hand, my heart swelling with pride and terror. That night, back at my house, she broke down. I thought I could handle it, she said, tears streaming. But they're my family's friends, my past. What if I lose them? I held her, my own fears bubbling up. You don't have to choose between them and yourself, I said. But you deserve to be seen. She nodded, but the doubt in her eyes lingered. I knew then that love wasn't enough, we'd have to fight for it. The next day, Mark showed up at her house. I saw his car from my window, my heart sinking. Claire hadn't mentioned him since the phone call, but his presence felt like a storm cloud. When she came over later, she was quiet. He says he'll tell everyone if I don't come back, she said. He knows about us. Rage surged through me, but I kept my voice steady. He's trying to control you, I said. You're stronger than that. She looked at me, her eyes fierce but scared. I want to be, she said. But what if I'm not? We spent the night planning how to face the town, how to protect ourselves. I suggested we talk to a local LGBTQ support group I'd found online, and she agreed, though hesitantly. The meeting was in a community center an hour away. A safe space where we could breathe. There we met others who'd faced similar battles, their stories a lifeline. Claire listened, her hand in mine, and for the first time I saw hope in her eyes. I want this, she said as we drove home. I want us. But when we pulled into our street, Mark's car was still there. Claire's grip tightened. He's not giving up, she said. I wanted to march over and confront him, but she stopped me. This is my fight too, she said. As she walked toward her house, her shoulders squared. I realized she was changing, becoming someone who wouldn't hide. But the battle was far from over, and I braced myself for what came next. Mark didn't leave for days, his car a constant reminder of the fight ahead. Claire avoided him, staying at my place most nights, but the tension was palpable. We'd lie in bed, her head on my chest, whispering about a future where we could just be. I want to run away sometimes, she admitted one night. But I won't. Not with you here. Her words were a lifeline, but I knew we couldn't hide forever. The breaking point came at the town's annual fair. Claire and I went together, determined to act normal. We shared cotton candy, laughed at the rigged carnival games, and for a moment it felt like we'd won. Then Mark appeared, his face twisted with anger. You're making a fool of yourself, he hissed at Claire, loud enough for others to hear. Heads turned and I felt the crowd's eyes like needles. Claire stood tall, her voice steady. I'm done living for you, she said. Go home, Mark. He stormed off, but the damage was done. By the next day, the rumors were wildfire. At the library, my boss pulled me aside, her tone gentle but firm. People are talking, Emma. Be careful. I nodded, but inside I was seething. Why should we be careful for loving each other? Claire faced worse. Her parents called, demanding she fix things. She hung up, trembling, but didn't back down. I'm not going back, she told me. I choose you. We decided to take a stand. The LGBTQ support group helped us organize a small event at the community Centera panel on acceptance, open to the town. We invited everyone, including the skeptics. I was terrified, but Claire was a force, her passion infectious. If they're going to talk, she said, let's give them something worth hearing. We spent days preparing, writing speeches, sharing our story. The night before, we sat on my couch practicing. Her hand found mine and she smiled. We're doing this together, she said. I kissed her, my heart full. The event was packed, some faces friendly, others hostile. Mrs. Thompson sat in the front row, her arms crossed. Claire spoke first, her voice clear and strong. She talked about her journey, the fear of losing her old life, and the joy of finding herself. I followed, sharing my own story of hiding and healing. The room was silent, the weight of our words sinking in. Then a woman in the back stood up, Claire's old friend, Sarah. I don't understand, she said, but I want to. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Afterward, people approached us, some with questions, others with support. Mrs. Thompson left without a word, but I didn't care. We'd planted a seed. That night, Claire stayed over, and we celebrated with cheap wine and loud music. I feel free, she said, her eyes shining. But as we danced in my living room, I couldn't shake the feeling that the fight wasn't over. Mark was still out there, and the town's acceptance was fragile. I held her close, vowing to protect what we'd built, no matter what came next. The weeks after the panel were a whirlwind. Some neighbors softened. Sarah invited us for coffee, asking genuine questions. Others doubled down, their whispers turning to cold shoulders. Mark finally left, but not before leaving a letter for Claire, calling her choices a mistake. She burned it in my backyard, her face fierce. "This is my life now," she said, and I believed her. But life in a small town is never simple, and love, no matter how strong, doesn't erase the world's edges. We settled into a new normal, building a life together. Claire started baking again, filling my house with the scent of cinnamon and possibility. I began writing, pouring our story into pages that felt like a rebellion. We joined the support group regularly, finding a community that became our anchor. But the town's judgment lingered, a quiet pressure we couldn't ignore. One night, Claire found graffiti on her mailbox, "Sinner." She painted over it, her hands shaking, and I held her as she cried. "Why is it so hard to just love you?" she asked. I had no answer, only my arms around her. Then came the letter from her parents, disowning her. It broke her, but only for a moment. "I have you," she told me, her voice raw but resolute. "That's enough." We decided to leave the town, not running, but choosing ourselves. We found a small apartment in Seattle, closer to the support group and a city that wouldn't blink at our love. The move was chaotic, boxes and tears and late-night laughter, but it felt like freedom. On our last day in the neighborhood, we hosted a small gathering at my house. Sarah came, along with a few others who'd warmed to us. Mrs. Thompson drove by, slowing to stare but didn't stop. As we said goodbye, Claire took my hand unashamed. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing me who I am." I kissed her right there in the open, and for once I didn't care who saw. Now in our new home, we're building something real. Claire's bakery dreams are taking shape, and my novel is growing word by word. We're not naive, there will be more battles, more judgments. But together we're unstoppable. That first night, when Claire walked into my house, I thought she was just a neighbor. Now she's my home, my fight, my love. And in a world that tries to dim us, we shine brighter, side by side, forever. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.